Hi, Ben Montague here at the North American Guitar, and it's a very special day for us because we've got our very good friend, Mr. Stuart Ryan here. We've been doing you have been doing a very busy day filming some new guitars that we've just come into the showroom. It's been pretty amazing.
Great.
I think it's about 10 or 12 guitars you did.
I think it's 10. Yeah.
Well, your hands were bleeding a little bit. So.
Oh, you got to suffer for your art.
Yeah.
No, it's been great.
But we really wanted us to hear about sort of what you've been up to at the moment, because every time I go onto either YouTube or Facebook or whatever, I just see so much of your stuff. It's incredible.
Well, you know what? At the moment, my big thing is I'm trying to discipline myself to make a video every week. Yeah. Just because that's what people do these days, and I love it because it does. It makes me play. It makes me play a certain way because I do lots of things which people don't know about. I mean, I write music for TV companies and music libraries, which is kind of my passion. So every day, typically I'm recording something. And I've released a new book this year, Acoustic Legends, which came out about 3 or 4 months ago, and that's great.
Which has blown up. I mean,
that's doing well. Yeah, it's been a real labour of love. It's a different thing than the previous two books, The Tradition and The Heritage, which were very much solo fingerstyle guitar. For Acoustic Legends, I wanted to look at those guitar players that sort of don't fall into that kind of virtuoso world. Your James Taylors, your Paul Simons, and I had such a good time working on that book. So I learned a load of pieces by those guys. Yeah. Because for me, I've been playing guitar for nearly 30 years, and more I'm going back to stuff that I didn't learn, but I should have learned when I was 15. Yeah. So certain James Taylor tracks, Paul Simon, Springsteen, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm like, well, I should know this. The Beatles, kind of a current project, recent projects, sort of for my own fun, have been learning every single guitar part of Thriller. Oh, wow. That's something I did a couple of weeks ago. How long did that take you? It didn't take long, because you realise there aren't that many guitar parts. Yeah. That's the genius of that kind of thing. But yeah, I just sat down with it one afternoon and I thought, I've got to learn all the parts, just see what's going on. There's a guy called David Williams who plays a lot of those parts. And I learned so much from doing it. The same thing, you listen to Beatles stuff and you go, I should really learn how to play Penny Lane or something. And not all the obvious stuff that people do. Yeah, and also obviously being such a great guitar player and being known for the fingerstyle, to kind of take that simplicity but the simple stuff is not easy. You know what? I don't listen to any solo fingerstyle guitar music anymore. I did a lot of that, and I still play it, and I still write it, but I don't listen to it. For me, I love listening to songwriters. And it's funny, because I got to that age where, when I was a kid, I was only interested in the virtuoso stuff. And then you get to an age where you read about older guys, and they say, I don't listen to the complex stuff, I listen to the songwriters, and you think, oh, well, why are you doing that? And then you get a bit older, and you're like, I get it. So when you go to write another book or do these videos, because we were talking about, you said and they are beautifully shot and they're very crisp, they're very clean, the sound is great, the shots are, the detail of the shot is amazing. But when you go to write a new book, how much practice do you actually put into that? Because that was one thing when I was watching you today, sort of jaw on the floor, thinking I'm not picking up a guitar in front of you. There was a big part of us thinking, I wonder how much time you spend practicing. Yeah, I mean that's a really difficult one, practice, because people have a conception of what practice is. Sitting down for 6 hours playing scales, and I did all that 20 years ago. That was my foundation. I spend 9 hours a day playing guitar. So practice these days. That's 9 hours. 9, yeah. That was 9. Yeah, I spend 9 hours a day. Alongside everything else, school and exams and all that kind of stuff. But it's very different these days. So practice for me, there's something Martin Simpson says which I love, which is every day try and play something you've never played before. And that doesn't mean play a whole piece. That could be a phrase or a really small idea, because you've got to keep it fresh. I think the hard part for anybody, if you have something you do lifelong, keeping it fresh and interesting is hard. The way I kept things fresh, I had a period of about seven years when I would keep the guitar fresh by buying new guitars. Yeah, so you bought one from us, didn't you? I just kept buying guitars and sort of changing guitars and buying guitars. And these days, I don't do it. So for me, practice I don't sit down and mechanically practice through things. The muscle memory's there. My fingers work, for now. My fingers work at the speed they need to. So for me, it's more a case of, I'll come to the writing in a second, but for me, practice is more a case of, putting on Thriller, or putting on an acoustic record and going, I'll just learn some parts, because I'll never have played those before.
And just takes you on to a completely different place, and then that inspires you a bit more.
It's just that joy of discovery, a new thing, and you think, well, that's strange. Because another thing I always say when I'm doing masterclasses is, you get to a point where you play the way you play. Much as you have a speaking voice, you have a gait when you walk, playing, you get to a point where you play the way you play.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not going to change that. And you see people, they're struggling with pieces, literally fighting them. And sometimes you've got to say, well, do something to make it your own. Because there are some pieces that I'd sit down and think, I might have a go at playing this. And then you realise, I just don't feel comfortable with playing like that.
I love the fact that you did the breakdown of the John Mayer stuff. We're big fans of John Mayer here.
John Mayer.
And when I saw, obviously, Facebook, you don't see the sound at first. You just don't hear the sound rather at first. You just sort of, and I saw that you done. I thought, oh God, I wonder what that's going to be like. And it was great because you really had dived into his tone, his feel, which is a hard thing to kind of break down. But I thought you absolutely knocked that one out.
Thank you. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I should say, I've been writing a column for Guitar Techniques for 15 years now. So every month, every 3 weeks really. The brief is make it sound like.
Yeah.
I've done hundreds of those, and that was great. I love doing that. That kind of sound like thing for me is really good fun as well. Because it's a funny thing. It's sound like without infringing copyright.
Yeah.
It's a tricky discipline, but.
And so just you mentioned the songwriting. How do you go about from differentiating between I'm in book mode, I'm in tour mode, I'm now going to write not for a book, but I'm going to write for myself for a record that I'm going to tour. How do you go about that?
Yeah,
because you did pull out the Bamberg earlier to do a piece on it, and just went, I forgot about this one. This one's been floating around for a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I must record that piece. It's a piece called Dreamer. Writing's different for different people. So sometimes I write to a brief. So sometimes, you get a brief which says, new guitar music, it's got to be accent music.
That's for the advert stuff.
Yeah, and like TV programs and stuff like that. For myself, I don't always sit down and think I'm going to write something today. A lot of the time it just tumbles out.
Yeah.
And it can start off as an exercise, or it can literally just be a few notes that lead somewhere. And that's more often than not, it's a case of you just play a phrase, and then your brain will go, okay, I'm going to do something with that. I've got to develop that into 4 minutes of music. Yeah. And for me, the writing thing has always been super fast. A phrase emerges, and then an hour later the piece is ready. And what I do is I don't record them, I don't play them. I leave it for a day or a couple of days, and if it's still there a couple of days later, then I think, well, that's probably an okay piece.
Well, it's just like writing a hook in a song, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The next day, if you're still humming it and you're still singing it, yeah.
And I asked my wife as well. She's a fantastic gauge. She's downstairs. I mean, she's the best gauge. She'll be downstairs. They always are. They are, yeah. If I'm playing something, if I hear the footsteps on the stairs.
Yeah. And you did actually say it to me before.
Yeah, if the head goes round the door and he goes, what's that? Then I know, okay. And then she gets handed the iPad actually, and I say, just film this. Yeah. And she stands there for 20 minutes whilst I try and play it.
That's amazing.
Take ages. But that's a really good gauge. I mean, the thing is, if someone says to you, I like that piece, then you're kind of in the right direction.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting that, then are you just writing it for yourself?
Yes, I could never write to a brief. I did a few sort of songwriting camps and stuff, and I always found it really challenging being in a room saying, right, you're writing, this is the pitch you're writing to.
But you're a singer-songwriter, so I couldn't do that. I couldn't sit down and do the lyrics. Remember, I'm just an instrumentalist.
He says just an instrumentalist.
But it's a different thing, because I do try and think in terms of song forms, intros first and chorus, but I think it's so much harder if you are applying lyrics to it as well, because that instantly takes in a direction. So you can have a fantastic song, but if your lyrical content isn't chiming with someone, then it's just not going to work. Whereas if you're an instrumentalist, if people catch the melody, then it can.
Yeah, but there was a similarity. The thing that I thought was quite similar was the fact that when you go to I found writing to a brief quite difficult. But I like to sort of just jam around a few chords, and then when something will come, a little bit of magic will come, you might park it, record it. If it's still in your head the next day, then maybe you pick it up again. It's just so interesting to hear how you approach music, writing. So what's the next thing for you then? What's your sort of next plan with... Is there another book coming? Are you writing another book? Have you got a tour?
Yeah, what might it? Well, at the moment, I'm about to head off to Austria to do the Thomas Lee guitar camp with Thomas and John Gong. And I haven't done that for a couple of years. That's great fun. And then there's a thing in Germany we're doing shortly after that, which is going to be great as well. And then at the moment, I mean, I gig a lot. In an electric guitar situation, which is a million miles removed from that, and that keeps me busy. So at the moment, I'm thinking there's a new EP which I'm going to record, and I'll release that with a transcription set. So that'll be that piece, Dream Runner, and probably 3 others. And then the next book will probably turn out to be more of a method book, a fingerstyle method book, rather than a pieces book.
Brilliant. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by here today. You'll enjoy Stuart's playing on the next artist series, and for more information on the incredible Mr. Stuart Ryan, it is www.stuartryanmusic.com.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.